Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Johngy or Else podcast. I, of course, am who else but Tommy Else, and with me, as always, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, the man on the beat from johnjysbeat.com, Mr. Jonathan Jebediah Robleski.
I like Jebediah.
There you
It's
go.
good. It's very, very regal, very biblical sounding.
Yeah,
How are you,
JJW.
Tommy?
I'm good, man. How are you, man?
I am so excited. I am
So
so
you gotta.
excited.
I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna say it. This is gonna be a good one.
Steve Harvey.
No, that's you doing.
That's
Steve
Tommy
Harvey.
doing
That's
John
me doing
Steve
you doing
Harvey.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah,
That's apparently his catchphrase as far as you're concerned. So,
but it is going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. Go ahead, tell everybody who we got on the show today. What's going on?
Well, several months ago, while scrolling through the internet, Facebook, I forget which one it was, but a singer popped.
Facebook's on the internet, John. They're not two separate things.
Thank you. A singer popped up into one of my feeds, Franki Pineapple, and I instantly loved her music. And I started doing a little research on her. She's got a fascinating story. She started relatively late in life. I mean, she's still a relatively young woman, but she started later in life doing music. She had a variety of other jobs. She was originally told when she was young that she had no music ability whatsoever. And yet here she is now playing music, great music. She seems to have a fascinating story, and I just can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah, you clued me in onto her, and I did visit her YouTube channel, and I also checked her out on Spotify, and I listened to her album Pineapple Grenade. I do recommend it. I'm not just saying that. It is a good album, real nice mix of different styles. It's everything from country folk to good old fashioned rock songs and everything in between. So I enjoyed it, and now I'm anxious to get to talk to her and get to know more about her too. So let's do it.
Then without further ado,
Franki Pineapple.
Franki Pineapple. For the Johngy or Else podcast, welcome into our studios, Franki Pineapple. How are you, Franki?
I'm pretty good. A little nervous because I feel that I have a runaway mouth.
That's great.
Great. Perfect.
I never know what it's going to say.
Well, I was going to introduce you as the spiky on the outside, sweet on the inside, as a lead up to, because I love the story of how you got your name, the process. Could you talk a little bit about that? I love that story.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I wasn't born Franki Pineapple. I am Stephanie Carlisi by birth. And let's see, I guess back in 2016, I was having a conversation with who ended up becoming my producer and produced actually the first single that I released called Fuck It Man. And he was telling me that he thought I needed a little bit of edge and that I needed to take on an artist name in order to kind of like penetrate and like stick out a little bit more. I was highly offended. I was like, I'm Stephanie Carlisi. Like, this is my name and it's, beautiful and powerful.
It should be good enough. Yeah.
Right. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. But like, still, you should take on an artist name. I was very resistant. But then later that day, we were having lunch at a Thai restaurant and we were having pineapple fried rice. And all of a sudden I just said, well, what about pineapple? And he's like, I love it. Exactly what you just said. Sweet on the inside, prickly on the outside. Like, this is perfect. So I started going by Pineapple, which was bizarre. If you take on a name, it's kind of hard to start integrating this into your life, but I did it. And then I decided I wanted to brand myself. And so I tried to trademark Pineapple, but was unable to just because it's too broad. Yeah. And the attorney told me to go back to the drawing board and, just kind of add something to it to make it a little bit less broad. And Franki was the name of my father, who passed away when I was 5. And I had used Frankie Fiore actually as a pen name for a while. So I combined those and became Franki Pineapple. And then, I'm sure you've read a little bit about the fact that Apple Inc. decided to sue me over it, but Somehow I failed.
We're gonna ask you about that. Are you able to talk a little bit about that? Because
Yeah,
you fought back.
I did fight back. And I just actually heard Kanye West saying yesterday that Apple's the #1, company in the world. And every time I hear that, I'm kind of like, yeah, like I won. I don't, you know what? I feel like Apple Inc. did me the biggest favor that they possibly could have done me, because it got me quite a bit, not, for an unestablished artist like myself, I feel like it's almost what established me, because the New York Times ended up reporting on it.
It's
So
exposure. Yeah.
I mean, I just like, thank you, Apple Inc.
Yeah.
Did you have hesitancy about fighting that? Because they're, obviously a huge company, lots of money behind them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you get into a lawsuit with anybody and, they can just wait. They can wait you out until they bleed you dry. And then, whether you're right or wrong doesn't matter,
And especially how are you going to take on a company with that type of money and power and resources behind them? I've always been by nature very scared, like one of those very paranoid, scared people, like I'm going to get sued and I'm going to get this and I'm going to get that. So it was terrifying to stand up. And everybody that I spoke with about it said, you can't do it. There's just no way that you can take them on. But like something inside of me was like, I cannot. A friend, actually my producer, Nataraj, he used the word gag order. And as soon as I heard him use that word, I was like, no, I'm an artist. I'm all about freedom of expression and freedom of speech. I simply cannot back down. And somehow I do feel like it's rather a miracle. And I had the right attorney, by the way. That's
yeah, that helps. Yeah. When with any type of art, if you start putting restrictions on what you can and cannot do, then you can never truly express art. It has to be able to be genuine and uncensored,
Amen to that.
So you were sticking up, sticking up for not just music, but art in general. So good for you.
100%. Thank you.
You've kind of overcome a lot of obstacles through your whole career. When you were young, like this boggles my mind that you were basically told you have no musical ability whatsoever.
Absolutely.
But now here you are doing it.
I was kicked out of the chorus when I was in the 5th grade. And then I auditioned for Alice in Wonderland and whatever. She told me I got the part, but then in front of the whole class told me no, I didn't. And she cast me as the Rosebud. And I had one line to pet Alice and say, I think she's pretty. And that was it. I did not sing for 20. It was so bad. I got scared to clap in public. Like I just was convinced that I had I was tone deaf. I had no rhythm, no musical abilities whatsoever. And I'm just, teachers can make such a difference in a child's life, both negative and positive.
Either way. Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that music came back to me later in my life, kind of considering, because it was when I was 27, which is, it's a pretty late start to get into it all. So I'm just grateful. I'm not a pop star. I'm never going to be. It was like a little late for that, but I'm doing what I love. So
yeah. And that's the most important thing for sure. What were you gonna say, John?
Do those words from childhood still haunt you to this day?
They absolutely do. I would say over the past year, but honestly, it's with every gig I do. It's with, every little win that I have, it's fading and it's fading and it's fading, but it took years. I mean, years and years. And I do think that taking on the name Franki Pineapple was huge for me, because it gave me the ability to kind of like separate myself from my art. I always wore it on my sleeve and I always thought that I was my art. And now I'm able to kind of like step back from it a little bit and be like, no, I'm a human being and this is what I do, but I don't take it as personally anymore, I think.
Let me ask you this. When you did, when you were kicked out of the choir and you weren't getting the part in the play and all that stuff, and the time between then and you finally making the decision to, actively be pursuing this, did you ever do like any voice lessons or anything like that, or have you just been hanging on to this voice this whole time and you just now letting it out? with, well,
I
you know,
Yeah, I did acting. So
okay,
acting was always, so of course that ties in.
yeah,
But when I was 27, I was hired by JD Souther, the songwriter,
mhm,
wrote a bunch of songs for the Eagles and a lot of other stuff, not just that, not to minimize him at all, but he hired me as a songwriter's assistant. And so I was transcribing his journals for him. You know, like the very first assignment that he gave me were pages ripped out of a journal that like he and Jackson Brown had started writing a song together, but never finished. And my job was to go home and see what I would do with it, like how I would type it up and how I would form it.
mhm,
And he recognized that I had an ability for writing lyrics, kind of in like song structure. And I
sure,
had always been filling journals with poetry. It just, because I was not in music and I believed I couldn't be in music, it never occurred to me that poetry, you know what I mean, like lends itself to
sure.
song.
It's another
So
avenue, yeah.
just point blank, this is my history. It was my connection with JD Souther that got me into music when I was 27. And once I got into music, I never looked back at acting. It was like I got the bug, and I just have not stopped since.
So you've been able to sing like this entire time, but you've just kept it suppressed because you were just told by everybody that it wasn't worth anything to anyone.
You know, this circles back to your last question about, do those words still kind of haunt me? Because the answer has to be yes, because it's like I still don't really believe what you're saying, if you know what I mean. Like, it's still hard for me to believe that, yes, I am a singer. Yes, I do sing. Yes, like songs come to me in my sleep.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, I guess I am kind of still haunted by that. Maybe now that you've said that, maybe now, I think I believe it.
Was,
Yeah,
wa-
I think I believe it.
was
We
it
try to work a little
frustrating?
therapy into this here
I,
too,
I
you
mean, I
know.
appreciate that.
No,
Always
I
need a
love
little
JD
bit.
Souther. Only the love that guy.
Mm.
Was it frustrating though working for him, doing that stuff? When you had you had the musical ability inside of you.
God, that's so, I mean, if our actual work experience was probably maybe about a 6-month period, and I was still acting at the time.
Okay.
So, you know, I look back at those days and I go like, I was a wannabe movie star back then. So I was really focused on that kind of, and also JD's an actor so I was really, oh my God, he's an actor. Maybe I'll get discovered as an actress. It wasn't until he sort of traveled on, that's a whole nother story, but that I started realizing, oh, my words are starting to haunt me. I started writing a novel about the experience working with him and coming into the music world. And it was like my words just kind of started forming into song at that point. And then my first songwriting partner, Tim Kobza, was a guitar professor at USC. So he kind of put a guitar in my hand and was like, just strum like this, you know, and it just
Mm.
kind of happened. But when I was working for JD, I just didn't know what was going on yet at all. In some ways, I feel like I'm the last to know
Yeah.
that. I don't know. I hope I'm making sense, because I told you.
No,
I'm
yeah,
not.
absolutely. Absolutely.
No, totally.
So, I listened to Pineapple Grenade. I listened to the whole album. I really like the mix of styles of songs throughout the album. I mean, you've
Thank
got
you.
kind of some like country folk type of songs, but then you've got some rock songs and stuff, and you really get to hear a lot of, different styles coming out of you as far as the way you sing and perform and everything. Um, how was the recording process? I mean, did you enjoy it? Was it fun, or was it stressful?
Yeah, I mean, both. I'm going to say
Yeah.
both. And I'll also say, I thank you for recognizing the difference in styles and genres there, because I've been told a lot through my career that I need to focus and that I'm
Yeah.
too sort of all over the place and nobody's going to know how to box you. And as an artist, I can't do that. I won't do that. And so that's why that EP, which is also why I named it Pineapple Grenade, because it's kind of just like this explosion of God knows what.
Mhm.
By the time I finally, so Evil Love and You Baby You, which used to be called Dark Light and was the very first song that I ever wrote by myself on guitar in 2008. Those songs had been written a decade before I recorded them. And it was in the coming for so long. Like it meant so much to me to finally have the means and the opportunity to record these songs with Chris Seafried, this amazing producer who I reached out to his manager very fearfully. And, you know, I mean, it was such a learning ground for me to step up and kind of deal as a businesswoman and start kind of asking for what I want and, you know, being afraid of rejection and all this. So recording with him was amazing. Absolutely. And it was fun. And it was kind of me realizing, oh, I can actually do this, but it was very intimidating. It was scary. It was intimidating. I almost look back and don't even know how I got through it, but he was great. You know, he was very supportive. Yeah.
No, a good producer is great because they kind of can, you know, coach you along and bring you through and show you the ropes, you know, especially if you're just starting out with this sort of thing, you know, and get you to understand the process and how it works, but also where you can, you know, maintain your creative freedom as well. And you know, as far as people trying to like put you in a box, that's the last thing any real artist wants, is to be labeled as something, because then they just want you to keep churning out the same sort of thing over and over and over again. You know, you have to leave the door open to be able to do whatever is inspiring to you and makes you want to perform or write or sing or anything. So so I think keeping that diversity in there is essential for you, and that you should keep that up.
Oh, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
Is
It's
anything
all I know how to do anyway. So
Then
is anything
just do
coming
it.
of your writing?
what was that?
Is anything coming of your writing? You had mentioned you were starting a novel.
Oh yes, no. So I wrote the novel years ago. Actually, something kind of cool. Well, not cool, but this legendary journalist in Hollywood by the name of Nikki Fink. She just passed away a couple days ago, and she published a handful of chapters of the novel, and one other story of mine. And I just now, before I got on here, saw that it's the #1 story on her Hollywood dementia website right now, which is this like,
oh,
it's like a
congratulations.
Hollywood.
Congratulations.
I mean, it's like, it actually, JD has a song called Little Victories. And so I am very big on celebrating little victories.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see it, the #1, you know, on this website, that you know, things like that to me are huge.
Yeah.
I did also start a podcast where I've recorded several chapters of the novel. The novel was called Signs in the Night, and then I changed it to be called Fatherfucker, which is tongue in cheek. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, that's happening. Who knows if that will lead to anything. And I've been gigging a lot, like, you know, booking gigs at the Viper Room and venues around LA like that. And I feel like every time I do it, it just sort of opens up another door, even if it's not an obvious huge door to, you know, a stadium or something. But my last gig at the Viper Room, an up and coming producer showed up and he wanted to produce one of my songs that he saw me perform. So I just recorded that last Sunday.
Oh, good.
It's called Take Away Your Pain. And then I do have another song coming out soon called I Won't Remind Me of You, which a producer on the internet found me and we collaborated on that. And then I got this badass mixer named Brian Cook to mix it. So, you know, more music's coming. And
well, I think those are the things that, like, when if you do have those voices from the past coming and to saying you're not good enough, you got to look to the voices of the present who are coming to you out of the crowd, off of the internet, and saying you are good enough, and so much that I want to work with you. And I think that's pretty awesome. You know,
thank
that's
you.
cool.
And you know what? It's like one of those things where you have all these huge hopes and aspirations, which actually I don't have very many expectations these days, but I used to have these grandiose dreams. And so of course, when I recorded Pineapple Grenade, I wanted it to skyrocket, right? But here it is, I just released it a year ago. And I do believe that these things are happening because I released it. People are now able to listen to my music online. You know, there's a mark there. So it has made a big difference.
Right. I mean, I listen to it. I mean, you
And
know,
I'm
it's
so
like
happy to hear that.
you got, you know,
yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
you were the one listen on my Apple Music recap. Thank you so much.
We
5
question
stars.
those stats anyway. That's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
I know. I don't even go there. I don't even go there.
So what is next for you?
Let's see. Well, I have a couple little gigs coming up. And like I said, I mean, releasing music as an independent artist is quite a task. You know, there's so many things involved as far as deciding if you want to, you know, get PR, you know, the artwork, and then you got to like register the songs and do, you know, distribute.
Right. Copyrights and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. That's the kind of stuff that I know it's Cry Me a River stuff, because it's like, how fortunate am I?
No, but it is a lot of work,
Still
and
work.
it's my brother also does you know, music, and I've seen all the stuff that over the years that he has to deal with as far as like licensing his music out and that sort of
Oh, I
stuff.
wish I
And
was doing that.
so yeah, I know, I understand. Um what outside of, I mean, like, you're obviously an extremely artistic person. You act, you are into music, you're a writer, you write several different types of things. You're doing poetry, you're writing a novel, you're writing songs.
All
what do
true.
you what do you what do you do outside of the artistic realm? What do you like to do to decompress? What do you do when you're just gonna go and chill or go have some fun?
Yeah.
Or does that not happen enough?
You know, it used to not happen enough at all. I think I was a workaholic for many years, and I've been realizing that the workaholism was due to seeking validation through the work. And so it was like on any given day, wherever I thought I was with my workload was how I would feel about myself. And I was never going to get anywhere that way, because it was misery. It was pure misery. So I don't do that now. I take days off completely. If I need to, after a gig, I'll take a week off, even if it's just a small little gig at the Viper Room or whatever. To me, I'm putting out all the energy as if it was in, you know, Dodger Stadium or whatever. So I'll take a week off. I meditate. This sounds so cheesy, but I meditate a lot. I do these guided meditations to get myself to keep going and put one foot in front of the other and not want to crawl back into my hole, because I've suffered from horrible stage fright and horrible fear of like what people are thinking of me. And I'm most comfortable down in that hole. So I do these guided meditations a lot to keep myself just moving forward. Don't pay any attention to the distractions. You know, I'm a yogi. I do a lot of yoga. God, that sounds like I have no life other than all of this.
No, that's all, but that's good though. I mean, it's self-care, and it's something that, you know, I do guided meditation too, so I understand the benefits. I understand the benefits of that, and it's a nice reset. I tend to do it kind of like around, you know, mid-afternoon or something, and just kind of is a good thing to kind of get your brain to just kind of reset, and then I can head into the second half a little clearer and ready to go. So
I gotta say too, I mean, I used to be a lot more social, and these days my social circle is very small, because I won't move forward if I have tons of distractions. I'm in Palm Desert half my life and in Los Angeles the other half of my life. When I'm in Palm Desert, it's like it's a retreat for me,
Right.
and there's no distractions. I'm so happy to be like, sorry, I can't. I'm in Palm Desert, because I will never move forward if I allow distractions and parties and events, because it used to be every event might be the one where I meet the person that's going to greenlight my life. Totally. And how often does it ever work out that way? Well, for me, it pretty much never did. So I'm very streamlined these days. I got to tell you, not to be a party pooper, but
yeah, I think it's funny that you keep mentioning that, you know, the Viper Room is like a small gig. I mean, even I know what the Viper Room is. You know what I mean? It's a pretty famous place to play at. I mean,
and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful.
A lot of people, a lot of big bands have found their way through the Viper Room, or so. I mean, I think that's pretty cool that you're getting to play there. You know, I would love to play the Viper Room.
I have to say, not that many people show up, but you know what? The right people always show up is what I know. I used to be so disappointed when this big crowd of people wasn't there. So that's probably in my mind why I say that it's this small thing, just because, it's that voice in my head. But I appreciate every single gig that I have played, because each one gets me a little bit closer to feeling comfortable in my own skin on stage.
I know I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, and then I'll throw this over
I
to you,
do too.
John, after this. But I did want to ask about your influences. Like, what'd you grow up on? I mean, you clearly, loved music from an early age. So like, what were you listening to like at, 7, 8 years old? What was getting you going?
Number one, by and large, Prince.
No,
Sure.
right
Oh
on,
yeah.
right
Yeah. I
on.
remember seeing Purple Rain. My
Hmm.
friend Nanny took us to see it, even though she should not have. And
Yeah.
I'm, oh my God, like Darling Nikki.
Yeah.
Prince blew my mind. I mean, for me, he was number one. I mean, I grew up with Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna. Those are my, 7, 8, 9-year-old years. So for sure, Madonna definitely took a big impact. But the funny thing is, it was Alanis Morissette. That was huge when
Mhm.
Jagged Little Pill came out. Her songwriting inspired the heck out of me. But when I met JD Souther, everything changed for me. I knew who the Eagles were, of course, who didn't know
Yeah.
Hotel California, but I became obsessed. Yeah, I can say that now. I became obsessed with his world and the quintessential singer-songwriters, I mean, his buddies, Jackson Browne, Joni Mitchell, and then of course, like Stevie Nicks. Back when I met him, I thought Stevie Nicks was the guy and Lindsey Buckingham was the girl. Like, I was that
Yeah.
clueless. I remember meeting Jackson Browne and I did not know who he was at all. So meeting JD opened up that entire like Laurel Canyon, 70s music scene. Linda Ronstadt, of course.
Mhm.
Then through that, I'm Patti Smith. For me,
Yeah.
Patti Smith is probably my number
That's your
one.
number one. That's your
Oh,
girl. Yeah.
God, I saw her last month at Pappy and Harriet's in Joshua Tree. We were in the front row, and I will never be the same again after. I had seen her before, but seeing her that close up, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, but that Laurel Canyon 70s music world really was what I feel like that's what turned me into I think I already was a songwriter. I just didn't know it. But cracking into that world was what started forming me.
When I was young, my mother played uh Prince all the time. She played like 1999 and the and Purple Rain and all that stuff. In Excess, Madonna, Michael Jackson, like all those same people you were mentioning. My very first concert I ever went to, I want to say either 8 or 9, and it was Michael Jackson on the Bad tour
Wow.
at the United Center in Chicago here. So, and it was one of
That's
the
pretty impressive.
I remember just I had never been in a crowd that big before as a little kid. So I mean,
That's
it
amazing.
scared the hell out of me, but it was but it was still pretty cool to see him. Even then, I knew that was something. I would have loved to have seen Prince, but
God, I got really lucky to see Prince a few times, and oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a few people who have, and I've heard the just
Amazing.
unbelievable shows. John?
Well, I've heard, I read that you describe yourself as like a peaceful rebellion. And I thought it was interesting because, as you just said, some of your song lyrics are a little explicit,
Mhm.
yet some of them are kind of folksy, like a classic early 70s folk songs.
Yeah.
Are those conscious choices of yours to spread apart, or are you just being an artist and doing what you feel like at the time?
It's the latter. It's not a conscious choice, but what it is my artist soul is that folk rock, that I was talking about. That's what's inside of me. Nothing is more pure to my soul than my acoustic guitar in my hands playing and singing an original song. However, I had such low self-esteem from childhood and so many blocks, so much fear. I mean, just riddled with fear, that the other stuff that you're talking about, the more, that kind of here I am, I'm, breaking out stuff. That's the stuff that I had have to do to get myself to be able to reveal myself. And I think that's why. And then that pineapple thing just was like one of those happy accidents, because it kind of describes that,
Right.
I want to be peace and love. I mean, that is what I feel in my heart, 100%. That's me. But I also feel that I gotta, break through. And
Well, sometimes you gotta just let it out, you got stuff inside you and you gotta let it out. And sometimes you let it out in something that's like a ballad, and other times you need to let it out where you rock your ass off for 3.5 minutes, I mean, it's,
heck yes. Sometimes I absolutely just have to rock. Like I feel that actually so there's this place called The Joint on Robertson and Pico. It's not there anymore, but Waddy Wachtel used to have these big Monday nights at The Joint where like Keith Richards would pop in, it was just crazy. He had Rolling Stone backup singers singing with him and all this. And Terry Reid, do you guys know who Terry Reid is? Check out Terry Reid. Terry Reid was up there one night, and I was there just because I'd heard, these people sing JD's songs. So I was like sniffing around all the time, like just trying to make my way in this world. And Terry Reid was up there singing a Kinks song called Waterloo Sunset. And he was, when you watch a performer lose themselves, like they're gone. They're just not there anymore. Like Stevie Nicks used to do it at the end of Rhiannon, where she's just, it's like a trance. It's just, I saw Terry Reid doing that, and it was so clear to me that he had left his body.
It's like for them, they're the only one in the room.
That's it. There's no, it's like when you're so completely and totally in the zone, a thought couldn't come in to distract you no matter what. Right. When I saw Terry Reid do that, so I was 28 years old, because it was shortly after I worked for JD. I knew, I was like, I have to experience that if it is the last thing that I do. And I have experienced it a few times, but let me tell you, I've only just done.
It's hard to forget the rest of the people being there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it doesn't happen every time. That's for dang sure. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, is there anything you'd like to promote? Tell people where they could find you online?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm Franki Pineapple, frankipineapple.com. I do need to update my website, but it is there. My handle on social media is @Franki Pineapple, Frankie with no E. And I do have a couple new songs coming out within the next few months. So just kind of keep your eyes open and follow me, and I'll follow you back.
We will. I have one last question before we go, and I rarely ask anybody this, but it's just been striking me since you popped up on the screen. Do people ever tell you look like somebody?
It's so funny. I do. Yes, they do. They do.
Like a famous actress.
Yeah, I get mostly it's Jodie Foster, but then there's also the Helen Hunt, and then there's if Helen Hunt and Jodie Foster.
I was thinking Helen Hunt.
I was thinking Helen Hunt.
I was thinking Helen Hunt. I was like, you got a real Helen Hunt thing going on there, but
thank you. I appreciate both of them. I love and appreciate it so much. So yeah.
Well, Franki, it's awesome getting to talk to you and getting to know you a little bit and everything. And I'm very happy for you.
Thank you so much.
I'm proud of you for going and making this happen for yourself. I mean, it's huge. I had wanted to be in pro wrestling for a very long time, and I never thought that would ever be a possibility. And I didn't start until and I did get to finally do it, but I didn't start until I was 32.
Wow.
And 32, that's really old to be starting, but I've gotten to do it. And like you said, I'm never going to be in the WWE. I'm never going to be, in the main event of, a major production or anything like that. But I get to participate in it. I get to do it. It's a labor of love, and it's fun. And I can, hear in you kind of the same thing. It just,
exactly it. Yep.
And, I'm glad that you were able to get away from the naysayers and just say, screw it.
Thank you so much for saying that. Honestly, that's huge. That means so much to me that you recognize that.
And I honestly, sorry, John, not to cut you off. I know But in all honesty, I really honestly did enjoy your album when I listened to it.
Thank you so
Um,
very much. Thank you.
I wouldn't, if I didn't mean it, I would have just let you go and not say anything. But I really did like it a
No, I
lot.
would have.
So,
No,
Thank
I
you.
was just gonna say thank you for coming on and sharing your story, because it's an inspirational story for anybody out there who,
yeah,
you know, people say that you don't have it. If you have it inside you, you know, you went for it, and you're doing it, and it's awesome to see you do it.
I believe firmly what you just said. If there is a desire or a calling inside of us, there's a reason for it. I truly, truly believe that. And I think a lot of depression, sadness, misery, arguing, fighting in the world is because people are not following their callings, because it's scary,
yeah,
but it's everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. We'll keep an eye out for your upcoming singles, and
Thank you
we
so much
will.
for having me.
Thank you,
That
Frankie.
wasn't that bad. I didn't even say anything too bad, I don't think.
No,
So
yeah.
thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome back anytime. And we'll keep tabs on you, and maybe after the next few singles come out, we'll check back in with you.
Do it again. Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Frankie.
much for having me.
All
Bye.
right, bye. Take care.
Bye.
So spiky on the outside, sweet on the inside. That was Frankie Pineapple, and really, what a delight that was. What a blast.
Yeah, real sweetheart, very genuine. I appreciate her being so open and about her story and everything. And you know, it's I love hearing people who get to realize their dreams, you know, and you know, I've seen other people, you know, and they get there, and it's some people, they can't appreciate it, you know, and you can tell that she's truly grateful for where she is and where she's going. And you know, obviously it's motivating her because she's not slowing down at all, you know. She's got new singles coming out, she's playing gigs regularly. I mean, that's, you know, good for her. She's living
Well,
the
she's
life.
only playing at the Viper Room.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
which
she
is a
kept
fantastic venue.
I know. I'm like, look, even I know what the Viper Room is, you know, and I'm like, you know, like
Good for her, though.
that's
That's
a big
awesome.
deal. I mean, you know, that's like if I got to play the Metro, but even if 20 people showed up, I don't care. I mean, I still I got to play on stage at the Metro. That'd be,
Absolutely.
be
You know,
pretty
I thought it
awesome.
was cool. Like, you know, you were mentioning it, you know, how you started late, your wrestling career started late, and obviously her musical career started late. And not to throw myself into this, but I will throw myself into it. My writing career started very late. I wanted to be a writer all through, like, when I was a little kid, all through high school, wanted to be a writer. And I was told I was a very bad writer in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And a long story, I got kicked off the newspaper, but whatever. I ended up working for a newspaper, but not in the editorial department.
Right. Yeah.
I eventually conned them into letting me write some things for editorial, because I did it free, just because I wanted my name out there. And, you know, now I'm doing all this, you know, and obviously it's late in my life to be starting, or, oh, I've been doing this for several
Well, you've
years,
been doing
but
it for a
still,
while now. Yeah.
right.
But
But it's still late to start it and do it. But, you know, it's like the three of us had similar type journeys, is what I'm trying to
it's,
get.
you know, but you know what, the thing with that, I think one of the benefits that come with that, and I kind of wish I had asked her about this, but one of the benefits that comes with that, I believe, is that you come into that role with a higher level of maturity than you would have, let's say, had she gotten that at 18 or 20 years old or something like
True.
that. You know, her approach towards everything would have been different. Mine would have been different. Yours would have been different,
And I
you
think
know, but
appreciation too.
right. And to be grateful, you know, I mean, that's something that I feel, I mean, for me personally, has been something. I mean, like, I thank my lucky stars every day for everything that I have, from my home to the food I eat, you know, my cat, you know, even you on the show here.
Wow.
But but that gratefulness comes with maturity though too, because you have to experience life, I think. And so when you can, you know, as much as you feel like, you know, you might have lost some time because you started later, it might actually be to your benefit that now you're going to maximize, you know, the amount of of everything that you do with it, your time
No,
and
you're right.
energy in it, and your perspective of it and your appreciation of it and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with, quote unquote starting late, and like I said, I mean, if anything, there could be some upsides to it. And you know what? I'd rather start late than never get to do it at all.
No,
And
you're absolutely, and 20 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be, doing a podcast. I never thought I'd be interviewing. I got 1,400 interviews on YouTube. I never thought I'd be able to interview someone like a Franki Pineapple. I love her
Right.
music, and she's doing great things in the music industry. And here we are interviewing her. And 20 years ago, that was not even remotely, my consideration. So, and I appreciate every second of this.
Well, I don't think podcasts even existed 20 years ago.
Well, no, but doing an interview.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Clod.
But yeah, anyway, really great to have her on. Really awesome person. I really dig her soul and her spirit. And
check out her music, man. I love.
Yeah, really.
My favorite song is "Crazy People."
Yeah, you should have told her that, man. Well,
I
guess you're telling. If you're listening, Frankie, he's telling you now.
I told her that in messaging.
Okay. All right. Well, with all of that, John, you want to take us out here
for the Johngy podcast?
Oh man, it's already screwed it up.
What did I do wrong now?
Are we not going to go through our socials like we usually do?
Do I have to do this? The people know where to find us. I'm at Johngy's Beat anywhere. You're at Tommy_else. Look for us on the Johngy or Else podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook.
And
we now have a full line of shirts and hoodies, the Johngy or Else hoodies and shirts available at Pro Wrestling Tees, your favorite source for our Johngy or Else merchandise. For the Johngy or Else podcast, I, of course, am Johngy, and with me, as always, who else but Tommy Else?
Fuck it, man.